The parking lot was nearly empty when the lights began to hum. A deep low-frequency buzz, like something breathing through the power lines, rolled through the rows of cars. Mall security cameras caught everything that night, but the footage had no sound, only movement. A lone sedan in the farthest corner flickered in and out of view, headlights flashing once, then dying. When the morning staff arrived, the car was still there. Doors locked, engine off, but something had dragged itself underneath. Long streaks of oil and blood leading from the rear tires to the drainage grate. Officer Lane, the first to check it, crouched beside the car. He pressed his flashlight toward the darkness under the chassis. "Hello? Anyone under there?" Only silence then. A whisper. Close. Wet. Too close. "It's still here." The beam shook in his hand. He leaned lower. The whisper came again, this time from behind him. Lane turned, expecting to see another guard. No one. Just the hum of the fluorescent lights and the endless echo of night. He aimed the light under the car one last time and froze. The underside wasn't empty. It was moving. Something pale and slick unfolded from the shadows, joint by joint, scraping metal. The flashlight dropped, rolled under the car, its beam catching one final image on the concrete. A face staring back, upside down, smiling, then static. Rain always made the parking lot feel emptier. It flattened everything, the neon reflections, the echoes of footsteps, even the air itself. Samira wiped the fog off the glass booth where she sat, the flickering security monitors painting her face in blue light. It was 2:17 a.m., and her shift at Greenfield Mall had 3 hours left. The lot stretched endlessly outside, a maze of white lines and rusted carts. The mall had closed at 10, but a few cars still sat scattered across the asphalt, belonging to the late cleaners, delivery guys, or maybe the ones who never came back. Samira didn't like this shift. Not anymore. She'd only been here 3 months, replacing the guard who, according to rumor, had quit after a nervous breakdown. No one talked much about him, but she'd heard the whispers. They said he'd been found under a car, muttering about faces in the dark. Her radio crackled, slicing through the quiet. "Booth 1, do you copy?" It was Jonas, her partner tonight, an older guard who'd worked there long enough to stop caring. "I copy," she said, trying to sound awake. "Got a report from maintenance. South lot lights are flickering again. Go take a look, of course." The south lot, the farthest corner where the cameras always glitched. "Can't they wait till morning?" She muttered, "Not my call. Just check it out. Take the flashlight, the big one." She sighed, grabbed her jacket, and stepped into the rain. The heavy security flashlight felt cold in her hand, the beam cutting through mist that looked thicker the farther she walked. Rows of silent cars lined both sides of the lot, rain dripping from their roofs like tears. As she passed the third row, her boots splashed through a puddle, dark, oily. For a moment it looked like it was moving. She blinked, and it was just rain again. Halfway there, her radio hissed. Static. She stopped. "Jonas, you breaking up?" No reply. Just the sound of something faint under the interference. Like breathing. Slow. Close. She turned in a slow circle, flashlight shaking slightly. Nothing. Just rain hammering the asphalt and the rhythmic flicker of the south lot lamps ahead. When she reached them, she found one bulb hanging loose, swaying from its pole. The light buzzed, then flared. For half a second, she thought she saw a figure between the cars. Bent, crawling. The light died. Her breath caught. She shone the flashlight where the figure had been. Nothing there. "Just wet pavement, Jonas," she said, voice low. "Did you see anyone walk out here earlier?" The radio clicked. Then came his voice. But strange. Slow. Distorted. "Stay where you are." The static swallowed his words, then cut out completely. Samira lowered the radio. Something was wrong. She started walking back, faster this time. But with every few steps she heard another. A second pair of footsteps, soft, wet, keeping pace. She spun around. Empty rows. Nothing moved, but the shadows between the cars looked deeper now, like the dark itself had weight. Her flashlight dimmed for a second. Then a sound, a metallic scrape, like someone dragging something heavy under the cars. Her pulse quickened. "Jonas, I'm heading back," she said, forcing her voice steady. The booth was still far away, a faint box of light in the mist. She focused on it, walking fast, pretending not to hear the scraping grow louder. When she finally reached the booth, Jonas wasn't there. His chair sat empty, spinning slightly. "Jonas?" she called, stepping inside. The monitors flickered. The feed for the south lot, where she'd just been, showed movement. Something shifting under a car. Her throat tightened. She leaned closer. The screen showed an upside-down reflection, pale and stretched, crawling on hands that weren't quite hands. It was looking at the camera. Then the feed cut to static. The radio hissed again, a whisper pushing through. "It's still here." She froze. That voice wasn't Jonas's. It was quieter, wet, like the whisper from the hook, recorded and replayed through old tape. Her reflection in the booth glass looked wrong now, slightly delayed, eyes not blinking when hers did. Outside, the rain stopped. The silence pressed against the windows. She reached for her flashlight again, even though she didn't remember putting it down. The beam trembled across the lot and caught movement. A car door slowly opening on its own, far away. Then another, and another. A low hum filled the air, the same electric buzz from the footage she'd seen her first week here. The one they said was corrupted. Every car light flickered once in perfect rhythm. Like something breathing, Samira whispered to herself, "Don't run. Just don't run." But when one of the headlights blinked like an eye, she turned and bolted for the exit door into the mall. Behind her, the sound followed, soft at first, then scraping faster, closer. She didn't look back. The mall's emergency door slammed behind Samira with a metallic echo that carried through the empty corridors. She leaned against it, gasping. Water dripped from her jacket onto the tiled floor, each drop impossibly loud. The lights above flickered, some buzzing faintly, like the same frequency that had filled the parking lot. She forced herself to breathe. "It's fine. Just lights, just rain. Jonas probably stepped out. That's all." She tried the radio again. "Booth 1 to base. Anyone copy?" Only static answered, but deep within it she heard something like a whispering crowd. Faint layered voices. She turned the volume down fast. Her reflection in the glass of a closed perfume shop stared back at her, pale and trembling. Behind her reflection, though, something seemed to shift. The faint shadow of movement where there should be none. She turned. Nothing. The mall was supposed to feel safe. Bright. Sterile. Full of empty music piped through ceiling speakers. But tonight, it was like being inside a dead body. The air was heavy and still. She started walking toward the security hub inside the mall, her boots squeaking against the tiles. Every shuttered store she passed looked like a mouth sewn shut. Halfway down the corridor, a sudden thunk echoed behind her. She froze. "Jonas?" No reply. A metal trash can had rolled across the floor, slowly as if nudged. Her flashlight beam landed on it. It stopped moving. Then from somewhere above came a faint scraping, nails or maybe metal, dragging across the ventilation ducts. She swallowed hard. "Who's up there?" The sound stopped, and then a voice answered, muffled, weak, trembling. "Help me." Samira's breath caught. "Jonas, is that you?" "Under here." The voice was distorted, like it came through a layer of water or static. She followed it down the hallway to where the maintenance doors were. She hesitated. The air smelled strange, like rust and damp soil. Slowly she pushed the door open. Inside was the maintenance corridor, narrow, concrete, lined with flickering bulbs. Pipes ran overhead, dripping occasionally. Something shuffled just around the corner. She raised her flashlight. The beam caught a shoe first. A man's boot, then part of a leg. Someone crouched behind the generator box. "Jonas?" The figure didn't move. She edged closer, voice shaking. "Hey, you okay?" The flashlight beam slid higher, and her stomach twisted. It was Jonas. His eyes were open, staring, his face pale and dry like plaster. His radio was still in his hand, pressed to his mouth. The speaker on it crackled. "It's still here." Her flashlight slipped from her grip, clattering across the floor. Jonas's radio voice kept repeating the same words, even though his lips didn't move. She took a step back, trembling. Her back hit the wall, and something cold brushed her neck. A breath. Slow, wet. She swung around. Nothing there. The flashlight rolled to a stop near Jonas's boot, its light aimed beneath the maintenance table. And there, In that narrow strip of shadow, something shifted. A hand. But not his, too long, too thin. Skin like paper stretched over bone. It crawled backward into the dark, vanishing under the pipes with a sound like wet fabric tearing. Samira snatched the flashlight and bolted out of the room. She didn't stop until she reached the Central Security office. The door had a keypad. She slammed her ID against it. Green light. Inside, a dozen monitors glowed in the dark. All the feeds from the parking lot and interior cameras played at once. Every screen showed static, except one. Camera 12, South Lot. The image was distorted, warped by interference, but she could still make out something. Movement between the cars. Crawling. Slow. And then the sound came through the speakers, the same whispering hum, but underneath it, layers of voices. Dozens of them. Some crying, some gasping, some whispering words she couldn't make out, until one voice cut through clear. You shouldn't have looked. Samira yanked the power cord from the console. The room went black. Silence then. Bang. Something slammed against the door. Once, twice. She pressed herself against the back wall, holding her breath. The banging stopped. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number, she answered without thinking. Hello? A man's voice. Calm. Too calm. You're not supposed to be there. Who is this? Leave the cameras on. They like when you watch? She hung up and threw the phone across the room. It hit the wall and fell, screen cracked. For a long moment, she just stood there, shaking. Then her eyes landed on a corkboard near the desk, cluttered with old incident reports. She pulled one down. May 12th, 2017, missing person. Officer Lane, night shift. Body not recovered. Evidence inconclusive. Mall temporarily closed for maintenance. Her stomach dropped. Lane, the name she'd heard her first week. The one who'd found something under a car. She kept reading. The next report, August 2019, employee disappearance, lower lot camera failure, and another. 2022, civilian found unconscious near south drainage grate. Claims of voices and movement underground. Each report mentioned the same area, the south lot. The same place she'd just been. The mall had buried this, literally. She turned toward the window overlooking the concourse. The rain had stopped, but the glass shimmered faintly, as if something behind it was moving. When she got closer, she realized the reflection wasn't hers. It was Jonas's face, smiling, upside down. The lights exploded, one after another. She screamed and ducked under the desk. The smell of burnt plastic filled the room. When she lifted her head again, the monitors were all on, glowing faintly. Each screen now showed the same thing, the view beneath cars in the parking lot. And in every frame, something was crawling, pale, boneless, jointed wrong. Each one moved in perfect rhythm, like they shared the same mind. Then the screens flickered again. All feeds merged into one, a tunnel shot, descending into darkness beneath the mall. She could hear the whispers again. Clearer now. It was built on them, under the asphalt. They never left. The feed panned, as if controlled by an unseen hand, revealing rows of shapes buried in concrete. Faces, half-formed, pressed into the walls like fossils trying to scream. Samira stumbled backward. Gagging, she ran out down the corridor, searching for an exit outside the office. The mall looked changed, darker, twisted. Storefronts that were dark minutes ago now glowed faintly with flickering lights. Their mannequins turned toward her as she passed. She moved faster, heart hammering. The emergency exit ahead was marked with a glowing red sign, but as she reached for it, she froze. Under the sign, the floor was wet, not from rain. From below, the tiles bulged slightly as if something were breathing beneath them. Then came the whisper, closer now, almost inside her ear. We remember you. Samira staggered back, tripping over her own boots. Her flashlight rolled away, its beam landing on a crack in the floor, thin but deep. From the crack, something pressed upward, a fingertip, then a hand, then a face forming out of the tile like melting wax. She screamed and ran for the escalator, taking the steps two at a time. The mall shook faintly like something vast shifting below. As she reached the top, her radio crackled back to life. Jonas's voice, soft, tired. You shouldn't have come back tonight. Jonas, where are you? She cried. I'm still here. Then the escalator stopped moving. The lights above flickered, one by one, until only the faint glow of the moon through the skylight remained. And for the first time, Samira realized she wasn't alone up there. Across the upper level, near the food court, stood silhouettes, faint, unmoving. Dozens of them, employees, shoppers, guards, all staring at her, and slowly they smiled. The figures at the far end of the food court didn't move at first. They just stood, still wrong, drained of color. Samira's flashlight trembled in her grip as she slowly panned the beam across their faces. Shoppers, security guards, a janitor, a little boy holding a balloon. Each wore the same expression. Calm, unnatural smiles stretched too wide. Their eyes shimmered faintly, reflecting the emergency lights in shades of silver. She whispered, "Jonas?" One of the figures twitched. Its head tilted at an impossible angle, vertebrae cracking like glass rods. Then it started walking toward her. Another followed, and another. The air grew heavy, thick with static and the smell of rain-soaked metal. Samira stepped back, tripping over an overturned chair. Her radio slipped from her pocket, clattering across the tile. The voices began again, low murmurs that grew into layers of whispers, echoing from every direction. "It's still here. They paved over us. They thought it would hold. Stay away," she shouted, aiming her flashlight like a weapon. The beam cut through the air, but the figures didn't stop. They kept advancing, slow and synchronized, their feet dragging through puddles that hadn't been there moments before. Samira bolted toward the maintenance stairs near the cinema entrance. As she reached the door, she caught one last glimpse of the crowd and realized their reflections in the glass moved a half-second slower than their bodies. When she slammed the stairwell door behind her, the sound echoed endlessly down the concrete steps. The stairs descended into the dark. The smell changed, less of cleaning chemicals, more of damp earth. Each step she took echoed back differently, like the walls were expanding or breathing. She tried the radio again. Voice breaking. "Control room, anyone, please respond." Nothing. Just a faint, wet crackle. She reached a landing where the concrete looked older, cracked, discolored, as if this part of the mall had been built over something ancient. Ahead, a rusted metal door hung slightly open. Light seeped through, not white light, but a soft, pulsing amber, like the glow of fireflies underground. Samira hesitated. "Don't go in. Just find another exit." But then she heard it, Jonas's voice. "Weak. Help me." Her chest tightened. Against every instinct, she pushed the door open. The air hit her first, humid, foul, like rotting leaves and stagnant water. She stepped inside what looked like an old service tunnel, its walls damp and slick. Water trickled down from cracks overhead. The tunnel stretched on, lit by that strange amber glow coming from deep within. Her flashlight flickered. "Jonas?" she called. Her voice bounced off the walls, returning to her as if whispered by someone else. "Jonas?" The echo wasn't quite right. She moved forward, following the glow. The deeper she went, the more she realized this tunnel wasn't on any blueprint she'd seen. The architecture shifted subtly, the walls bending in ways that made her dizzy if she stared too long. At one bend, she saw symbols scratched into the concrete, spirals, handprints, faces pressed into the wall like something had tried to push out. And then, a noise. Wet. Close. Something crawling. She froze. The amber light ahead dimmed for a second, then pulsed brighter, as if something had passed in front of it. "Jonas?" she whispered again, barely audible. "You found it." The voice came not from ahead, but from directly behind her. She spun. For a heartbeat, she saw Jonas standing there. His uniform drenched, his eyes milky. But when he stepped forward, the sound of his boots was wrong. More like suction. His voice was calm, too calm. "They told me to keep watch. You came back." "You shouldn't have." "What happened to you?" she whispered. He smiled faintly, the same hollow smile the others wore. "It's under us." "It always was." "We're the cracks." He reached toward her. She stumbled back, hitting the tunnel wall. His hand brushed her arm, cold, damp, leaving a faint black smear like oil. "Jonas, please, don't fight it. You can hear them now, can't you?" The whispering started again, louder now, overlapping, coming from every direction. Some voices were crying, some laughing, some whispering words that weren't words at all. Samira pressed her hands to her ears, shaking her head. "Stop, just stop." Jonas tilted his head. "It doesn't stop." The mall breathes. It remembers. Then his eyes rolled back and his mouth opened, too wide. Something moved inside, pushing against his cheeks from within. Samira screamed and ran. The tunnel sloped downward, the floor turning from concrete to compact soil. The walls grew rougher, pulsing faintly with that same ember light. Ahead, the tunnel opened into a massive chamber, wide, circular, with what looked like old construction debris scattered across the floor. Broken support beams, concrete slabs, a sign half buried in dirt, Greenfield Mall, grand opening 1973. In the center of the chamber, something massive pulsed beneath the surface, a bulging mound of flesh and stone, moving as if breathing. Around it, dozens of human shapes were half buried, their faces stretched upward, mouths open, whispering in unison. "We never left." Samira's flashlight shook wildly. Her knees nearly gave out. "Oh my God." She stumbled backward, and her boot hit something. She turned her light down, a skull, half fused into the concrete floor. That's when she understood. This place, this mall, had been built over an older site. A mass grave, the result of some forgotten tragedy. The whispers weren't ghosts. They were the foundation. The mall was alive because it was built on bodies. The air thickened, vibrating with low sound. The mound in the center shifted again, splitting slightly down the middle, revealing wet, veined flesh that pulsed like a heartbeat. From inside came a slow, rasping exhale, and then a voice deep and wet. Not through sound, but through vibration in the walls. "You walk on us. You feed us. Now stay with us." The lights on her flashlight dimmed, flickered out. Total darkness. Something touched her ankle. She kicked and ran blind through the black, guided only by faint glows in the distance, emergency lights or eyes. She couldn't tell. The whispers followed. Louder now. "Don't leave." "It's still hungry." Her foot struck metal. A ladder bolted to the wall. She climbed fast, heart slamming in her chest. Below her, she could hear things moving. Dozens of limbs scraping concrete, dragging themselves upward. Halfway up, a hand grabbed her boot. She screamed and kicked, connecting hard. A wet crack. The grip loosened. She climbed faster. At the top, she found a hatch, rusted but slightly open. She shoved it, grunting, pushing with all her strength. It gave way with a scream of metal, spilling her out into a dark storage room filled with cleaning supplies. She collapsed on the floor, gasping. The whispering below continued, muffled now. Distant, she crawled toward the door, dragging herself upright. Her reflection caught in a mop bucket, pale, shaking but alive. Then she saw something move behind her reflection. A flicker of pale limbs, gone when she turned. She ran. Through the service hallway, past the shuttered stores, every light strobing in and out. The mall was no longer empty. The silhouettes were back, standing motionless in doorways and corridors. Each time the lights blinked, they were closer. "Please," she whispered to no one. "Just let me go." She reached the front atrium. The glass doors were in sight. Rain pounded outside again. But the moment she stepped toward them, they locked with a metallic clunk. The PA system crackled overhead. "Greenfield Mall will be closing soon. Thank you for staying." It was the same cheerful recorded voice used during business hours but warped, slowed down, dripping with static. Behind her, footsteps approached, many of them slow and wet. She turned, trembling. The silhouettes now moved in unison, forming a semicircle around her. In the center, Jonas. He looked at her with that same hollow smile, voice steady. "You can't leave. You're part of it now." Samira shook her head. I didn't. You looked." The ground beneath her feet vibrated. The tiles cracked. Amber light seeped through the seams. Jonas extended his hand. It remembers every watcher. Samira stumbled backward, glass doors behind her. The light beneath her pulsed brighter, like something enormous waking up. She pulled the small sidearm from her belt. Mall issue, rarely used. Her hands trembled as she aimed it at the floor. "Let them go," she whispered. "We are them." The ground split, a roar, not of sound, but of pressure, filled the atrium. The air distorted. glass shattering inward. Samira fired into the floor. Once, twice, again. Each shot echoed like thunder. The floor gave way beneath her. She fell. Darkness swallowed her whole. She landed hard on wet soil. The smell hit again. Rot, iron, old blood. The whispering surrounded her, close now, forming words she almost understood. Then, silence. A soft breath against her ear. Welcome home. Hands, dozens, reached out from the dirt, pulling her down inch by inch. She screamed, kicking, clawing, but the soil was alive, swallowing her like water. The last thing she saw was the faint light above, the shattered glass roof of the mall, before it all went black. Hours later, the rain stopped. By dawn, the parking lot looked peaceful again. Cars gleamed with dew. The security booth lights flickered back on. A new guard arrived for the morning shift. He yawned, signing the logbook. He frowned. Night guard didn't clock out. He checked the monitors. All feeds clear, except one. Camera 12, South Lot. He leaned closer. For a split second, the feed glitched, showing movement beneath one of the cars. A pale shape, crawling slowly, leaving streaks of oil and blood toward the drainage grate. Then it vanished. The guard rubbed his eyes, muttered, "These damn cameras again," and took a sip of coffee. Outside, the lights hummed, low, deep, like something breathing under the asphalt. The morning came gray and silent. Mist rolled low across the Greenfield Mall parking lot, turning everything dull and colorless. The asphalt was wet, reflecting the pale daylight in broken patches. Inside the booth, the new guard, Luis Ortega, 42, ex-military, heavy eyes, watched the monitors with mild boredom. He had no idea that Samira was supposed to relieve him 12 hours ago. He assumed someone had mixed up the schedule. He took a sip of lukewarm coffee, chewing the last bite of a gas station sandwich, when the South Lot monitor flickered again. Come on," he muttered. These cameras, static. Then the faint outline of a car. Then, nothing. Luis jotted a note in the logbook. Cam 12 glitching again. Request tech inspection. He leaned back, staring out through the booth glass. The fog blurred the distant streetlights. A few early employees pulled into the lot. Cleaning crew, bakery delivery, a couple of managers unlocking side doors. Everything seemed normal, yet the air felt wrong. Still. Too still. No birds, no wind, only the faint hum of the light poles. Luis rubbed his arms. The heater had been running, but the booth was cold. A maintenance van drove past, its tires cutting through puddles. The driver, a pale man with tired eyes, gave a small wave. Luis nodded back. Then from the corner of his eye, something moved. He turned. A figure walked across the far edge of the lot. Slow, deliberate, uniform, security jacket. "Hey." "Samira?" he called through the mic. "You're late, girl. Thought you got off last night." No answer. The figure didn't look up. It kept walking between the cars, fading in and out of the fog. Luis frowned. Picked up the radio. "Booth 1 to South Patrol, you copy?" Static. He switched channels. "Jonas, you still around?" Nothing. He exhaled through his teeth. "Great." He stepped out of the booth, pulling his jacket tight. The cold bit harder the moment he left the glass enclosure. Each breath came out in faint plumes. The figure was still visible, barely, near the drainage area of the South Lot. Luis started walking that way. His boots splashed quietly through thin puddles. "Samira, you're gonna catch pneumonia out here," he called, half laughing. "You asleep standing up or what?" As he got closer, the figure stopped. It turned slowly toward him. For a second, Luis felt relief. A woman, short, soaked, dark uniform. But the face was shadowed, unreadable. "Hey, you okay?" he asked. She didn't move, her head tilted slightly. That's when he noticed her eyes, not reflecting the light, just absorbing it. "Black flat, ma'am." Then she smiled, and the sound came. A low hum vibrating through the air like power lines straining. Luis took a step back. Okay, ma'am, I'm calling this in." He reached for the radio, but it hissed before he touched it. From it came a voice, faint, layered. "It's still here." Luis froze. Who said that?" The woman blinked once, and when her eyelids lifted, her pupils were gone. Her smile widened, jaw cracking faintly. Then she began to walk backward, slow and smooth, into the fog. Luis's flashlight beam followed her, but the light bent strangely, like it was hitting water instead of air. Then she was gone. Only the echo of the hum remained. Back in the booth, the monitors glowed faintly. Luis stumbled in, shaking, slamming the door. He grabbed the radio again. "Dispatch, this is booth 1 at Greenfield. Possible intruder on lot, south corner near drain access. Female, security uniform, unresponsive, static." He tried again. "Dispatch." A different voice cut through, calm, male. "She's on shift." Luis stared at the speaker. "Who is this?" "Samira Khan, night guard." "Still on duty." "That's not possible," he whispered. I just saw her walk into the fog." "Copy that," the voice replied. "She hasn't clocked out." Then the line went dead. Luis lowered the radio slowly, heartbeat pounding in his ears. The hum outside grew louder. He looked at the south lot feed again. The static cleared, and there she was, standing still in front of the camera, head tilted, eyes black. The feed flickered, then cut to black. He left his post 15 minutes later. Drove home, didn't tell anyone, didn't sleep. By the next evening, he called in sick. By the next week, he quit. No one blamed him. Turnover was high at Greenfield Mall, but he couldn't forget what he'd seen, or what the fog had whispered that morning when he turned the ignition of his truck. It remembers. Months later, the mall's reputation declined quietly. Stores began to close, rent rose, customers thinned out, and eventually half the complex shut down. The south parking lot was fenced off for structural repairs. Only a few employees stayed through the changes. They whispered among themselves about lights flickering after hours, doors unlocking on their own, mannequins turning to face the corridors overnight. Cleaning woman named Marta refused to work nights after hearing voices in the ventilation, children laughing where no one stood. A store clerk swore she saw a face staring up through a crack in the tile near her. Register, but no one believed them. The mall continued, half alive, half rotting, and under it the hum persisted, constant, patient, like a creature breathing in its sleep. Security archive. Extract number 17, recovered footage, 3:14 a.m., static clears. Camera 12, south lot, rain falling lightly. Empty rows of cars, a lone sedan flickers into view. The headlights blink once, then die. For a moment, nothing. Then, under the car, movement. Something pale crawling forward, joint by joint, fluid as water. It pauses halfway out, the face visible in the beam of the camera, upside down, smiling. Feed ends. 2 years later, the mall is abandoned now. Windows shattered, ceilings collapsed in places. Weeds break through the asphalt. People still drive by sometimes. Urban explorers, thrill seekers, photographers. They call it the breathing mall. They say if you stand in the south lot after midnight, you can feel the ground pulse. Some swear they've seen shapes beneath the puddles, like bodies pressing against glass from underneath. Few have gone missing. Police reports say they probably fell through floor grates or got lost in the service tunnels. But the locals know better. They whisper that the mall is still alive, that it feeds quietly, waits patiently, and that sometimes when the lights flicker on after years of dark, you can see a uniformed guard pacing the far edge of the lot. She never looks up, never waves, just walks in circles, checking cars that aren't there. And if you call out to her, if you're foolish enough to say her name, the humming starts, low, deep, like power lines. Like breath, then she stops walking and smiles. There's something under the lot. Not ghosts, not exactly. It feels older, like the ground itself remembers every weight, every step, every drop of blood. They didn't build over the dead. They built with them, concrete mixed with what was left. That's why it hums. That's why it watches. I think I can hear her in the drain now. She's not gone. She's working. Still checking cars. Still whispering to whoever listens. Tell them not to look under. Tell them. The page ends mid-sentence. A dark stain spreads across the paper like water or oil. Last sight, a delivery driver pulling in before dawn stops his van near the south fence. He swears he saw lights flicker in the lot. Curiosity wins. He steps out, walks closer. The air smells faintly metallic. When he peers through the fence, he sees the surface of the asphalt ripple once, as though something large exhaled beneath it, then stillness. He shakes his head. mutters to himself, gets back in his van. As he drives away, the reflection in his side mirror catches a brief shimmer. A woman standing by the drainage grate, head tilted, smiling faintly as if watching him go. He doesn't notice. The mirror flickers once, then darkness. Years later, when the mall is finally demolished, the construction crew uncovers something that halts the project. Under the concrete foundation, dozens of remains, all fused into the structure itself. Bones pressed flat, faces distorted in the cement. The site is sealed off. The workers refuse to return, but one of them, a young foreman, takes a piece of cracked tile home as a keepsake. A smooth square of gray with faint handprints embedded inside. That night, his wife wakes to the sound of whispering coming from the garage. When she opens the door, the light bulb flickers once, and the tile on the workbench is wet, glistening like fresh concrete. In its reflection, she swears she sees someone standing behind her, a woman in a mall security jacket, smiling, upside down.